The hospital ceiling tiles looked the same as they had 6 weeks ago. I counted them again, 47 visible from my bed in the rehabilitation wing. 47 white squares that had become as familiar to me as the dull ache in my ribs and the persistent headache that came and went like an unwelcome visitor. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. Frank Miller, my neighbor of 20 years. "Tom, you there?" "Yeah, Frank. What's going on?" There was a pause. The kind of pause that makes your stomach drop, even when you're lying down. "Listen, I don't want to worry you while you're recovering, but there's been a lot of activity at your place. People coming and going. Young couples, mostly. They take photos on your front porch. They're in and out with luggage. It's been going on for maybe 3 weeks now." The headache that had been dormant suddenly came roaring back. "What do you mean, people? What people?" "I don't know, Tom. Strangers. I tried calling Madison last week to ask what was going on, but she said everything was fine, said she had it under control. But this morning, there was a couple arguing in your driveway about the Wi-Fi password. I thought you should know." I sat up too quickly. The room spun. "Frank, I'm being discharged tomorrow. Can you keep an eye on the place until I get back?" "Of course." "Tom, is everything okay? With Madison, I mean?" That was the question, wasn't it? Was everything okay with Madison? My stepdaughter, Claire's daughter. The girl I'd raised since she was 12 years old, after her biological father decided California was more important than his family. The same girl who'd stood at my bedside 6 weeks ago, tears streaming down her face, promising she'd take care of everything while I recovered from the accident that had nearly killed me. "I don't know, Frank. I really don't know." After we hung up, I stared at the ceiling tiles again. 47. Claire would have told me I was being paranoid. She always saw the best in Madison, even when our daughter was at her most difficult. But Claire had been gone for 8 months now. 8 months since breast cancer took her from me after 30 years of marriage. 8 months of trying to navigate a world that felt empty without her laugh, her warmth, her ability to make everything make sense. Madison had taken her mother's death hard. At 29, she'd leaned on Claire for everything: advice, money, emotional support. When Claire died, Madison had seemed lost. Then she met Derek Chen, with his perfectly styled hair, expensive watch, and constant talk about real estate opportunities and investment strategies. Madison said he made her feel alive again. I said he made me uncomfortable, but I kept that mostly to myself. Claire would have wanted me to give him a chance. The accident happened 3 months after Claire passed. I was driving home from the hardware store, carrying supplies for a project I didn't really need to do, but did anyway because the house was too quiet. A teenager ran a red light, T-boned my truck, broken ribs, concussion, internal bruising. The doctors said I was lucky. It didn't feel lucky, lying in a hospital bed for 2 weeks, then being transferred here for rehabilitation. Madison had visited that first week. She'd held my hand, told me not to worry about the house. "You just focus on getting better, Tom. I'll handle everything. I'll water your plants, get your mail, make sure everything stays secure. You don't need any additional stress." I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my daughter, not biologically, but in every way that mattered. I'd taught her to drive, walked her down the aisle at her first wedding, which lasted less than a year, and co-signed for her first apartment when her credit was shot. She'd called me Dad since she was 14. But now, lying here, with Frank's words echoing in my mind, I felt something cold settling in my chest. Something that had nothing to do with my injuries. The next day, I checked myself out of rehab against the doctor's recommendations. The nurse gave me a list of exercises, a bottle of pain medication, and a concerned look. "Mr. Brennan, you really should complete the full program. I need to go home." She didn't argue after that. Maybe she saw something in my face. The Uber driver helped me with my bag. My truck was still in the shop, totaled according to the insurance company. Another thing to deal with. The driver, a kid who couldn't have been older than 25, made small talk about the weather, about Seattle traffic, about his Spotify playlist. I barely heard him. When we pulled up to my house, I saw it immediately. The lawn was pristine, too pristine. I'd always kept it neat, But this was professional-level landscaping. There were new flowers in the beds that lined the walkway, Claire's favorite daisies, but planted in a pattern that was too deliberate, too showy. A small wooden sign hung near the door. Welcome. Wi-Fi info inside. Welcome. Wi-Fi info. I paid the driver, grabbed my bag, and stood on the sidewalk for a long moment. The house looked the same, but different, like someone had taken a photograph of my home and applied too many filters. Frank appeared on his porch next door. Tom, you're back. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a car, I said, trying to smile. It didn't quite work. Frank, when did the landscaping happen? He walked over, hands in his pockets. About 4 weeks ago, Madison had a crew come in. Looked expensive. She said she wanted to surprise you, make the place look nice for when you got home. 4 weeks ago, while I was learning to walk without assistance again, someone had completely redone my yard. And the sign? Frank's expression shifted. Uncomfortable. That went up maybe 3 weeks back. Tom, I really think you should talk to Madison about what's been going on. I nodded, though my throat felt tight. Thanks for calling me, Frank, and for keeping watch. That's what neighbors do. He squeezed my shoulder gently, mindful of my injuries. I'm right next door if you need anything. Carol's making pot roast tonight. You're welcome to join us. Thanks. I might take you up on that. I waited until Frank went back inside before I approached my front door. My hand shook slightly as I reached for my keys, though I wasn't sure if it was from the injury or from something else. Something closer to fear. The key turned. The door opened. The smell hit me first. Lavender and vanilla. Claire never liked scented candles. They gave her headaches. The house had always smelled like coffee and her jasmine perfume, and sometimes like sawdust when I was working on a project. The entryway was wrong. The small table where we kept our keys and mail was gone. In its place was a modern console table I'd never seen before, topped with a vase of artificial flowers and a basket of rolled towels. A laminated card read, House Rules, 1. No smoking, 2. Quiet hours after 10 p.m., 3. Checkout is 11 a.m., 4. Wi-Fi, sunny Seattle 2024. House Rules, checkout, Wi-Fi password. I walked further inside, my ribs protesting with each step. The living room was unrecognizable. My recliner, the one I'd had for 15 years, the one that molded perfectly to my back, was gone. Claire's antique bookshelf, inherited from her grandmother, was gone. The walls, previously covered with our wedding photos, pictures of Madison growing up, and snapshots from our travels, were now bare except for generic prints of the Seattle skyline. Furniture I'd never seen, sleek, modern, probably from IKEA, was arranged in a way that made the room look like a hotel lobby. There was a coffee table with another laminated card. Thanks for staying with us. Please leave a review. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the unfamiliar couch, my bag dropping beside me. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be happening. I forced myself up, moved through the house like a ghost. The kitchen had been reorganized. Everything moved around. The refrigerator was empty, except for bottled water and condiments. My bedroom, mine, and Claire's room, the door was closed. A sign hung on it. Private host area, do not enter. I opened it anyway. My bedroom had been converted into what could only be described as a command center. A desk with a laptop, filing cabinets, a printer. The bed was still there, but it was covered with paperwork, folders, and what looked like business documents. I moved to the desk. The laptop was closed, probably password protected, but the papers weren't. The top document was an invoice from a furniture rental company. $2,500 for a complete living room set modern minimalist package. Beneath that, a receipt from a landscaping company, $4,000. Beneath that, printed confirmation emails from Airbnb, dozens of them, bookings going back 6 weeks. The listing title read, Charming Seattle Craftsman near downtown perfect family getaway. My house. Madison had listed my house on Airbnb. The numbers swam in front of my eyes. $200 a night. Bookings almost every night for the past 6 weeks. Some for 2 nights, some for 5, some for an entire week. I did the rough math in my head. 40 nights, give or take. $8,000. Maybe more. I sat down in my desk chair. I recognized it from my garage workshop and tried to breathe. Each breath sent pain shooting through my ribs, but that pain was nothing compared to what I felt inside. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Hey Tom, heard you checked out early. I'm not at the house right now, but I'll swing by tonight to check on you. Need anything? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on. We need to talk. Come by when you can. Her response was immediate. Everything okay? You're not having complications from the accident, are you? Just come by. Okay, see you around 6. I looked at my watch. It was 2 in the afternoon. 4 hours. I had 4 hours to figure out what the hell was happening and what I was going to do about it. I spent those hours methodically going through every drawer, every cabinet, every file, in the master bedroom closet which should have held Claire's clothes. Clothes I hadn't been able to bring myself to donate yet. I found nothing. Empty. The clothes were gone. My clothes were crammed into a small section in the guest room closet. The guest room itself had been converted into another rental space. Different furniture. Another laminated card with house rules. Even my garage workshop had been cleaned out. My tools, a lifetime of collection, some inherited from my father, were crammed into the corners to make room for. What? Extra luggage space for guests? A bike rack? With each discovery, something inside me hardened. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't Madison trying to help. This was deliberate. This was calculated. At 5:30, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Brennan? This is Sarah Chen from King County Property Records. I'm calling because we received a quitclaim deed transfer request for your property at 4782 Maple Street. But there's an issue with the notarization. The signature doesn't match what we have on file from previous documents. Could you confirm whether you recently signed over your property to a Madison Taylor? The floor seemed to tilt. I absolutely did not sign anything. I've been in the hospital in rehabilitation for the past 6 weeks. A pause. I see. Mr. Brennan, I think you may want to contact an attorney. It appears someone may have attempted to fraudulently transfer your property. I thanked her, hung up, and immediately called James Morrison, the lawyer who'd helped Claire and me with our wills after her diagnosis. He answered on the second ring. Tom, I heard about your accident. How are you recovering? James, I need your help. I think my stepdaughter is trying to steal my house. Another pause. Longer this time. When he spoke again, his voice had shifted from friendly to professional. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail. From Frank's call to the Airbnb listings to the phone call I'd just received. James listened without interrupting, though I could hear him typing occasionally. Tom, don't confront her yet. I'm going to make some calls. Can you email me photos of everything you found? Every document, every receipt, every listing confirmation. I need you to be very careful not to alter or move anything. These are evidence. Evidence for what? Criminal charges? Potentially. At minimum, we're looking at fraud, forgery, and possibly grand larceny, depending on how much money was involved. But first, I need to verify everything and figure out exactly what's happened here. Give me 24 hours. And Tom? When Madison shows up tonight, just tell her you're tired from the hospital and you need to rest. Don't tip our hand yet. At 6 o'clock sharp, I heard a key in the lock. Madison walked in, followed by Derek. She was carrying a bag from the Thai restaurant we used to go to as a family, back when Claire was alive. Tom, you look terrible. Should you even be out of rehab? She set the food down on the unfamiliar kitchen counter and moved to hug me. I didn't step away, but I didn't return it either, she noticed. Her smile faltered. I'm fine, just tired. Derek extended his hand. Good to see you, Tom. Glad you're on the mend. He was wearing a designer t-shirt and jeans that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget used to. His watch caught the light. Rolex, maybe, or a good fake. Madison, we need to talk. She exchanged a glance with Derek. Sure. About what? About what you've done to my house. Her expression shifted, defensive, but trying to cover it with confusion. What I've done, Tom, I've been taking care of it, just like I promised. Taking care of it? I gestured around. Where's my furniture? Where are Claire's things? Why is there a sign on the front door with Wi-Fi information? Derek stepped forward. Tom, listen. I know this looks bad, but let me explain. Madison was worried about you. The medical bills. The lost income from not working. I don't remember asking you, I said, keeping my eyes on Madison. I'm talking to my daughter. Madison's face flushed. Don't be rude to Derek. He's been helping me. We were trying to help you, Tom. Do you have any idea how expensive everything is? The hospital bills alone are going to be insane, even with insurance. I thought if I could generate some income from the house while you were gone, it would ease the financial burden. I was going to surprise you with the money. By turning my home into an Airbnb without asking me? By throwing away my belongings? By getting rid of your mother's things? My voice cracked on that last part. Her eyes hardened. Something in her face reminded me of her biological father, right before he left. That same defensive anger. Mom's things were just collecting dust. They were making you depressed. I was doing you a favor. A favor? Yes. God, Tom, you've been living in the past ever since Mom died. You barely leave the house. You just sit in that stupid recliner and stare at old photos. It's not healthy. Derek and you thought you'd just take over my house. It's not like that, Derek interjected. The rental income has been substantial. We've made nearly $20,000 in 6 weeks. After expenses, that's still a significant profit that can go toward Tom's recovery costs. After expenses? I looked at Madison. You mean after paying for new furniture? New landscaping? What else? What other expenses came out of money you made renting out my house without my permission? Madison crossed her arms. I have receipts for everything. It's all above board. And legally speaking, Tom, this house should have gone to me. Mom would have wanted me to have it. There it was. The real issue. The thing that had probably been festering since Claire's funeral, when the lawyer read the will and Madison discovered that the house was solely mine. Your mother's will was very clear, I said quietly. This house is mine. We bought it together, but she wanted to make sure I'd be taken care of. Because she didn't trust me. Madison's voice rose. She always chose you over me. Her whole life, she put you first. Even at the end, even when she was dying, she made sure you got everything. That's not true, and you know it. Your mother loved you more than anything in this world. Then why did she leave me nothing? Why did she give her house, her money, everything to you? I'm her daughter, Tom. Her actual daughter. You're just the guy she married. The words hung in the air like poison. Derek reached for Madison's arm, murmuring something, but she shook him off. I wanted to shout at her. I wanted to tell her that Claire had left her plenty, $20,000 that Madison had burned through in less than a year, plus a car she'd traded in for something flashier within months. I wanted to remind her of every time I'd been there for her when her real father hadn't been. Every dance recital, every parent-teacher conference, every broken heart I'd helped her through. But I was too tired, too hurt, and James's voice echoed in my head, "Don't tip our hand yet. I think you both need to leave," I said instead. Leave? Tom, I've been staying here. My stuff is here. Your stuff is here because you moved into my house without permission. Pack whatever you need for tonight. You can come back tomorrow to get the rest, but you need to leave now. Derek stepped forward again. Tom, I don't think you're thinking clearly. The accident, the medications. The accident didn't affect my ability to understand property rights. This is my house. Madison is here without my permission. I'm asking her to leave. Madison's face went through several expressions: shock, anger, disbelief, then something calculating. Fine, we'll leave. But Tom, you're going to regret this. Derek and I have been documenting everything. All the work we've done, all the improvements. You're going to owe us for the increased property value alone. And there are guests booked for the next 3 weeks. If you cancel those reservations, you'll be liable for the refunds. Get out. They left, but not before Madison grabbed a laptop and several folders from the master bedroom. I watched them go, then immediately called James. They just left. They took files with them. I figured they might. Did you get the photos I asked for? Yes. I sent everything while we were talking. Good. Tom, I've made some calls. The property transfer was definitely fraudulent, the signature doesn't match, and the notary stamp is fake. I've already filed a police report on your behalf for forgery and fraud. And I've contacted Airbnb to have the listing removed immediately. What about the guests that are already booked? That's Madison's problem, not yours. She made those bookings without authority. Any refunds or cancellations are her responsibility. Tom, I want you to change your locks tonight, right now. And I want you to document everything in the house, photograph it all, make lists. We're going to need evidence for both the criminal case and the civil case. Civil case? You're going to sue her, Tom, for theft, for unauthorized use of your property, for the value of your belongings she disposed of. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is grand larceny. She's stolen from you. The money she made from the rentals? That's legally your money, and we're going to get it back. That night, after a locksmith had come and gone, a service that cost me $300 I could barely afford, I sat in the unfamiliar living room and tried to process everything. I'd ordered a cheap Chinese takeout because I didn't have the energy to cook, and the Thai food Madison brought was still sitting on the counter. I couldn't bring myself to eat it. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Madison had called 17 times. I'd ignored every call. She'd sent texts too. You're being unreasonable. Derek says we can sue you for unlawful eviction. I can't believe you're doing this to me after everything I've done for you. Mom would be ashamed of you. That last one hurt the most. Not because I believed it, but because part of me wondered if it was true. Would Claire be ashamed of me for turning her daughter away? Or would she be heartbroken that her daughter had betrayed me like this? I pulled up one of the last photos I had of Claire, taken about 2 months before she died. She was thin by then, the chemo having stolen her curves and most of her hair, but she was smiling. We were in the back garden, the one I hadn't been able to face visiting since she passed. She'd planted tomatoes that year, determined to have one more harvest. What do I do, Claire? I whispered to the photo. What would you want me to do? But Claire wasn't there to answer. She never would be again. I was on my own, in a house that didn't feel like home anymore, dealing with a daughter who'd become a stranger. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, police reports, and locksmith bills. James worked quickly. We discovered that Madison and Derek had made over $24,000 from the Airbnb rentals. They'd spent roughly $8,000 on furniture and improvements, meaning they'd pocketed $16,000. We also discovered that the attempted property transfer wasn't just a vague idea. Derek had created a complete fake paper trail. Forged signatures, fake notary stamps, fabricated deed transfers. He'd done this before, James's investigator found. Small-time property fraud, usually targeting elderly or vulnerable homeowners. He'd skipped town before anyone could press charges. But he hadn't skipped town yet. Maybe he thought I was too weak to fight back. Maybe Madison convinced him I'd just forgive and forget, like I always had. They were wrong. The civil suit was straightforward. Madison couldn't produce any written agreement giving her permission to rent the house. She couldn't explain away the forged documents. Her defense was essentially that she'd meant well and thought Tom would appreciate the help. The judge wasn't sympathetic. She ordered Madison to return every penny of the rental income, plus damages for my belongings she'd disposed of, plus legal fees. Nearly $30,000 total. The criminal charges were more complicated. Derek faced forgery charges, fraud, and attempted grand theft. Madison was charged as an accessory. Derek's lawyer tried to argue that Madison hadn't known about the forged property transfer, that Derek had done it without her knowledge. I almost believed it, almost wanted to believe it. Because the alternative that Claire's daughter, the girl I'd raised, had knowingly tried to steal my house was too painful. But then James showed me the emails. Madison had been part of the conversations with Derek about the property transfer. She'd discussed getting rid of Tom's interest in the house so we can sell it. She'd talked about convincing him to sign it over, and when that didn't work, about other options. She'd known. Every step of the way, she'd known. The trial was short. Derek took a plea deal, 2 years, probation, restitution, and a permanent mark on his record. Madison pled no contest to the accessory charges. She got probation too, community service, and a restraining order keeping her 500 yards from my property. I sat in the courtroom and watched the girl I'd taught to ride a bike learn her sentence. She didn't look at me once. I spent the months after the trial trying to put my house back together, literally and figuratively. I bought back my recliner from a consignment shop. Frank had seen it there and called me immediately. Most of Claire's antique furniture was gone, but I found a few pieces at estate sales. They weren't hers, but they were close enough. The hardest part was the empty spaces. The photos Madison had taken down, I couldn't rehang. Every time I tried, my hands shook and the memories felt too heavy. The bedroom I'd shared with Claire, I turned into a guest room. I couldn't sleep there anymore. The bed where she died, even though Madison had replaced it, the room still felt haunted. I slept on a pull-out couch in my workshop for 3 months, before finally buying a new bed and setting it up in the smallest bedroom. It felt like defeat, like Madison had won anyway by taking my home from me even though I'd kept the deed. Frank and Carol checked on me daily. Other neighbors brought food, offered help with yard work, asked if I needed anything. The community I'd lived in for 20 years wrapped around me like a blanket. It helped. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter. Hand-delivered, left in my mailbox without postage. Madison's handwriting. I almost threw it away without reading it. Almost. But something made me open it. Tom, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I destroyed everything, but I need you to understand something. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was drowning. Mom's death broke something in me. And then when you had the accident, I panicked. I couldn't lose you too. Derek convinced me that getting money, securing the house, would keep us all safe. I know that sounds insane now. It was insane. But grief makes you crazy. It made me crazy. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I loved Mom, and I love you, even though I did a terrible job of showing it. I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer with Claire's things, the few items I'd managed to keep. A hairbrush still with her hair in it, her reading glasses, a sweater that still somehow smelled like her jasmine perfume. Did I forgive Madison? I don't know. Some days I think about calling her, about trying to rebuild something. Most days I remember coming home to find my house violated, my belongings gone, my trust shattered. Most days I remember that she let me believe she cared while she systematically erased me from my own home. Claire would tell me that everyone deserves a second chance. Claire would say that Madison was hurting and made terrible choices because of that hurt. Claire would probably say that I should be the bigger person, that family is family. But Claire isn't here, and I've learned, the hard way, that sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who know exactly where to strike. Sometimes being the bigger person just means being the bigger target. I changed the locks again, added a security system, put my important documents in a safety deposit box at the bank. I don't know if I'll ever feel truly safe in this house again, but it's mine. The deed says so. The court says so. Some nights I still count the ceiling tiles in my bedroom, 28 visible from my bed. Different number than the hospital, different ceiling, but the same restless need to focus on something tangible, something I can count and control. And some nights I look at that letter and wonder if healing is possible after that kind of betrayal. If Madison ever becomes the person she was before Claire died. If I could ever trust her again, even a little. I don't have those answers yet. Maybe I never will. But I know this, I survived. The accident didn't kill me. The betrayal didn't kill me. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting for what's mine. That has to count for something. And maybe someday, when the wound isn't quite so raw, I'll reach out. I'll give her that second chance Claire would have wanted me to give. But not today. Not yet. First, I need to learn how to feel at home in my own house again. And that, I'm learning, takes time.